Okay, somebody.
This is the Bastrop County Court at Law, March 9, 2021. The court calls cause number 2120593 in the interest of Miller Duffield children. This hearing is being conducted on the Zoom app during the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Nisenblatt, would you like to make your appearance on the record, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Oscar Nisenblatt, attorney for the department, and I see that we have our investigator, Kayla Green, and we're ready to proceed.
Mr. Carver?
Mr. Carver, for Mr. Duffield. Mr. Duffield hasn't been actually served at this point. He's a resident of Colorado. I'm making this special appearance.
Okay. And do we have Mr. Brockstein?
I don't see him.
Okay. Ms. Wattis?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm the ad litem for the children and I'm ready to proceed. I did just get notice of the appointment yesterday, so I've only been able to talk with the placement, but not actually meet with them.
Trying to join on with an iPad that disappeared.
Okay.
If I may, I think the iPad might have been Mr. Duffield. He was trying to get into the hearing just to, but I'm not sure if that was him or not.
Okay.
That was actually the grandmother, the placement for the kids.
Okay. Do we have mom present?
Your Honor, this is Oscar Nisenblatt. I do not see her or Mr. Brockstein. I do know that mother was served.
Okay. Well, it's 11:05, so we're going to proceed. You can continue to reach out to him if you'd like, Jennifer, but we're going to proceed with the hearing. Mr. Nisenblatt, would you like to begin?
Yes, Your Honor. The department is seeking temporary managing conservatorship of these two children due to drug use by the mother. I think as stated earlier by Mr. Carver, Mr. J. Duffield is an alleged father at this time. He has not been served, but we were requesting paternity testing from Mr. Duffield. And at this time, I would like to call Kayla Green, our investigator.
Ms. Green, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the testimony you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may proceed.
Ms. Green, will you please state the names of the children subject to this suit?
Brady Dyer and Tyler Miller.
And how old is Brady Dyer?
Brady's 5.
And how old is the other child?
He's the newborn, about a month and a half.
And what are the concerns that brought the department towards filing this case for protection of the children?
The concerns of mother's history of drug use and her drug use while pregnant with Tyler.
Mr. Nisma, can you hold a second? I have an icon that says Mark Brockstein. Mr. Brockstein, are you now present? Mr. Brockstein? We have an icon that says Mark Brockstein, but okay, it doesn't show it's muted. Mr. Brockstein? Okay, Mr. Nisbet, you may proceed.
Okay. And did you investigate these concerns of drug use by the mother?
I did.
And what did you find?
That mom had 4 prenatal visits while pregnant that she tested positive for methamphetamine and amphetamine.
Mm-hmm.
And she took a hair follicle test following the release from the hospital. She tested positive for methamphetamines and amphetamines.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to talk to the mother during your investigation?
I did talk to mom.
Okay, and did she admit to
Yes.
using methamphetamine during her pregnancy?
Yes. She stated she relapsed in October and beginning of November.
And do you believe this creates a safety issue for these children, that the mother's using methamphetamine?
Yes.
All right, and who was the primary caregiver for these children or prior to the department's involvement?
Mom. But she always had grandmother for help with Tyler. I'm sorry, with Brady Dyer.
And did you have an opportunity to investigate who the fathers are to these children?
Yes.
And what did you find?
Mom stated that Brady's dad is deceased and that allegedly Jay Duffield is the father of Tyler.
Okay. And what due diligence did you exercise in trying to find Jay Duffield?
I spoke with mom and said she didn't have numbers for him. She was only able to provide me a number for his mom that she stated.
Okay, were you able to contact Mr. Duffy through his mom?
No, just voicemail.
And do you think it would be in the best interest of these children that their court allow us to do a paternity test on Mr. Duffield?
Yes.
And where are these children currently placed?
They're with maternal grandmother in the Smithville.
Okay. And is the department requesting this placement be continued and approved?
Yes.
Pass this witness.
Mr. Brockstein, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do. Let's see. I'm looking for her name. Is her name Elena? Who's a Kayla? Kayla. Okay. Yes. Kayla, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Ms. Green, can you hear Mr. Brockstein?
I could sort of hear him, but I can't hear everything he's saying.
Okay, Mr. Brockstein, and you're sort of to the side of the screen. If you could move over a little bit more into the center and then speak directly into your microphone.
Okay. How's this? I don't know if it's being picked up on my phone or.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Ms. Green?
Yes.
Okay. You opened up this investigation, what, about 6 weeks ago? Is that correct? January 21st, does that sound ring a bell? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What has been going on during the 6 weeks as far as the kids? You put something down about them being in immediate danger. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat? I can hear you, but you're very low.
Yeah, you had put in your affidavit something to the effect of if the mother was allowed to be around the kids, they would be in immediate danger or significantly impair their well-being. I can tell you
Yes,
exactly
due to
what you said.
the drug use.
Right. So 6 weeks has gone by, and what's been done by CPS as far as that goes? I mean, how are the kids doing after the first week of not allowing moms to stay in the house? Have you
They're
been out
doing
there?
fine. They're with the maternal grandmother.
Mm-hmm. And I understand you were out there yesterday. Is that correct?
Yes, for a follow-up.
Okay. And they seem to be doing good, right?
Yes.
So how are
When
they
I spoke
doing?
with
Just tell me.
grandmother, they're doing well.
I mean, did you have a chance to look at them and the children? Did you see them?
Yes, I did.
How are they doing?
They're doing fine. They Tyler is growing and thriving, and Brady was doing well. He got a new puppy.
Yeah. Okay. So that situation is under control, I guess. It's seemingly. Is it? Would you say that it's an emergency? It's in an emergency level, or not?
I'm
Just
sorry,
this
can you
time.
repeat that? I can hardly hear you.
Well, yeah, you had put in your affidavit that. Well, let me ask you this. Let me just start over on this. All reasonable efforts consistent with time and circumstances have been made by the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services to prevent or eliminate the need for removal of the children and to make it possible for the children to return home, but it is not in the children's, that's where it ended. Do you remember that, saying that? All reasonable efforts have been made by the department.
Because the kids were placed with maternal grandmother.
Okay.
They're residing and they're supposed to have supervised visitation with mom.
Okay. So what reasonable efforts have been made by the department to prevent or eliminate the need for removal of the children? I'm wondering what you have done in the past 6 weeks. Have you done anything?
Mom was sent for a drug test at the beginning of February.
Okay, is that what you're considering an effort by the department to prevent or eliminate the need for removal of the children? A drug test?
It was our opportunity to find out if she was still using drugs, so we would know where we would be moving forward from that.
Right. So the drug test result that's attached to your affidavit, is that the one that you're relying on?
Yes.
The hair follicle? Okay. Are you aware of this drug, the results of on this document? You said on the document it has a social security number. I guess the last 4 digits of the social security number. Are you familiar with that? If you look at the drug test result.
Your Honor, this is Oscar. Your Honor, this is Oscar Nissenblatt. It says, yeah, just for clarification, it's not just SSN. It's SSN/EID, which would be an identification number as well. Just for clarification on the question.
I think what it boils down to is, I don't know what EIN stands for, or EID stands for, but I think it's employer identification, isn't it? Oscar? You know what that EID stands for?
I believe it could be an exam ID number as well.
But I mean, I don't think anyone's qualified to interpret this test result because we don't know that it's hers. If those are the last four of her social, it's someone else's social. Plus, none of us are qualified expert to interpret the results. And some Your Honor, the test results are, I just don't know what to make of it.
Okay, well, right now I'm hearing testimony. If you make an objection, I'll rule on it. If you, you know, that give and take, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with.
Okay. Well, I don't definitely object to these test results, but by the same token, I'm trying to, Ms. Green, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to find out is, in your affidavit, you said that the last paragraph, it looks like it was cut off, that basically all reasonable efforts have been made by the department to prevent or eliminate the need for removal of the children and to make it possible for the children to return home. And then the rest of that sentence is cut off. Oh, no, it says, but it is not in the children's, and then it ends. So regardless of that, what I'm asking is what reasonable efforts have been made by the Department of Family and Protective Services to prevent or eliminate the need for removal of the children.
The children were placed in a parental care safety placement with maternal grandmother to ensure the
Right.
safety of the children.
Right. And so what I'm asking is that what you're considering to be a return of the children to the mother? Or what has the department done to eliminate the need for removal, I guess you could say? Have you tried to eliminate the need for removal?
They were placed in the,
That is the removal.
no, the parental child safety placement was in place before removal to make sure the children was safe through the investigation.
Is that family-based services or? I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you just said. Could you repeat that, please?
I said the children were placed in the parental child safety placement to make sure they're safe through the investigations. Is it possible for this to be a family-based services case? The department doesn't feel that it's appropriate due to her history of methamphetamine use and her use while pregnant with toddler.
Was the baby tested for any presence of drugs? The newborn baby? Oh my God.
Yes, he had urinalysis at birth.
Meconium? And how'd that come out? The meconium?
Zirconium was negative,
Was what?
negative for all substance.
Right, so the baby was clean. How far does that go back?
I'm not sure how far it goes back, but
Well, I mean, if the mother had used drugs while she was pregnant, would it not show up in the meconium? What's the purpose of testing the meconium?
because mom admitted to using methamphetamine through her while she was pregnant.
Is that a one-time thing? Or was that?
No, she
you
tested
say,
positive on 4 different occasions in prenatal care.
but the baby's meconium was clean. How can that be? You don't know?
I'm not a medical expert, so I can't really give an answer to that.
Right. So, okay, well, it only makes sense, logical sense that if meconium's clean, the baby's clean. And the baby and the other child, they're doing great with the grandmother. So I guess what I'm asking the court for is making this a family-based safety service case. And there's no need to change the conservatorship because the mother and the children have been living with the grandmother prior to the CPS involvement. And their children are doing perfectly fine. And it's very important that the mother be allowed to bond with her baby as opposed to, because of a single incident, which had never happened before. She has no history of drug use with the department. There's no evidence of that. She admitted to one time, and that's all. And anyway, so if the court makes this a family-based case, then drug test the mother as frequently as, or random, or once a week or twice a week, or however they want to do it. It's okay with her. And if she slips again, then CPS can always get involved if need be. But this is a one-time occurrence. She admitted to it, and I guess they ran with it. But there's no evidence of any other drug use. Yeah. And then I think the hair follicle results should be thrown out, and because it's clear that the last quarter of her social is someone else. Plus, like Ms. Green said, she's not a medical expert by any means, and she can't interpret what it says. And
Mr. Brockstein, do you have any further questions for this witness?
Ms. Green, can you just tell the court how it is in the best interest of the kids to be away from their biological mother?
The department is concerned for the ongoing drug use, and she will have visitations and has been having visitation with the kids placed in the home with maternal grandmother.
What ongoing drug use are you referring to? Do you have any evidence of that?
Miss Miller, she admitted to prior drug use, history drug use in the past, and the drug use during her
No, you
prenatal
said
care.
you said she had a history in her affidavit, but I don't see any evidence anywhere of her having a history of drug use. I do see a one-time occurrence. So
Speaking with her and as well as her mother, Mrs. Miller, they both said that she had prior history of drug use.
That is not true.
did they say what kind of drug?
That's not true.
Could be marijuana, could it not?
No, when I spoke to maternal grandmother about the parental child safety placement, I asked about the history of the methamphetamine use, and she said she was aware of the history of it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I heard a voice in the background there during Mr. Brockstein's questioning. I'm sorry, this is Charles Carver for those who can't see. Is that the mother? Is the mother present?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to input that, because on this one, I don't because therefore it has no bearing on anything that I've ever.
Okay, well, we're not making any progress. Mr. Brockstein, do you have any questions for Ms. Green? If so, let's get those done. Everybody will have a chance, but we've asked the same question over and over and over and over again. So let's wrap up with this witness. And if you have other questions than the same one, let's ask them. I'm going to take all the evidence into consideration when I make a rule.
Okay, Your Honor. I'm going to pass the witness for the moment, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Carver, do you have any questions?
Just one, Your Honor. I'm sorry, just a couple, Your Honor. Ms. Green, do you believe that a paternity test is a good way to proceed on this matter for Mr. Duffield?
Yes.
Okay. And then I just had a question about your affidavit, if you've got that in front of you.
No, I don't.
Okay. Under conclusion, the last paragraph, do you recall making the statements that went into making of this affidavit?
Not exactly, but you could refresh my memory.
You don't recall making statements that led to the signing of this
recall
affidavit?
exactly what was put on the affidavit.
Okay. The last paragraph, and I'm reading to you, begins, quote, all reasonable efforts. Okay. The quote, is that your statement or is that someone else's statement?
Yes, but like I said, I don't recall exactly what I put on the affidavit to the exact extent of it.
Okay, but you're quoting someone in here. Is that why this last paragraph is in quotes?
Yes.
Okay, and that's not your statement.
Your Honor, this is Oscar Nissenblatt. The whole affidavit is actually her statement. I'm objecting as to the question regarding the.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Wattis, do you have any questions?
Just a couple. Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Green, the children are with a maternal grandmother. Has she been, in your opinion, caring for the children properly?
Yes, she has.
All right. And she supervises all of the visits that the children have with the mother, correct?
Yes.
All right. And how often does the mother have visits with the kiddos right now?
I mean, it's 2 to 3 days for 2 hours a day.
All right. And so the mother is not allowed any overnight visitation, correct?
Correct.
The mother is not allowed any overnight. Okay. I see her saying correct. All right. And do you feel that the maternal grandmother, Miss Miller, could be protective of the children if let's say the visitation with the mother was inappropriate or going down a wrong path?
I do believe she can.
All right. And has she been cooperative or not cooperative with the department, the grandmother?
She's been cool.
All right. And now prior to this case, Brady and the mother had lived with the maternal grandmother pretty much all of Brady's life. Is that right?
Yes, Brady has. Yes.
All right. And now at this time, the maternal grandmother, she's the only person there overnight looking after the children, correct?
Yes.
All right. So at this time, her husband is not able to be there at home, and the mother is not able to be there at home. And so does the maternal grandmother, does she have any help with taking care of the newborn and a 5-6-year-old Brady?
Yes, there's a cousin, Patsy Barrett, who comes in to help her out with the children.
All right. And do you believe
My
both?
father comes in, who just don't reside there.
Got it. Got it. And do you believe both of them could be protective of the children if need be from the mother?
Yes.
All right. And with regards to you, I guess earlier you stated that there were 4 prenatal visits where the mom had tested positive. What sort of paperwork did you review, or whom did you speak to with regards to those prenatal visits and the positive results?
I spoke with the hospital social worker.
All right. And were you able to see any documentation at the time?
No.
All right. And now this case came from Travis County, correct?
The report came from. Yes.
Okay. And were you able to speak with that investigator from Travis County?
Dad's investigator?
No, that investigator, the Travis County investigator. Were you able to speak with that one? All right.
I was, yes.
All right. And with regards to Mr. Brockstein earlier mentioned family-based services versus conservatorship. At this time, why do you feel that family-based services are not appropriate in this case?
Because of the history of the drug use, we don't feel like the short time that family-based services is involved will be enough time to make sure mom is clean and sober and able to meet the needs of the children.
All right. Now, mom is not allowed to live with a maternal grandmother right now, correct?
Correct.
If the grandmother is able to be protective of the children, are you still going forward of the position that the mother should not spend overnights there with the maternal grandmother?
Yes.
I have no more questions, Your Honor. Pass this witness.
Mr. Nizenblatt, do you have any further questions?
Just one. What drug are we talking about that is giving the department concerns? Or is it the department's position that because it's methamphetamine, that additional services and longer term services are needed for this situation?
Yes.
Like that.
And again, this mother admitted to you that she used methamphetamine during the pregnancy.
Yeah, she admitted to relapsing.
Pat, no further questions for this witness.
Okay, do you have any additional testimony?
Your Honor, I'd like to call, I see Mr. J. Duffield, the alleged father.
Mr. Duffield, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the testimony you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may proceed. Mr. Duffield, you're muted as well.
Mr. Duffield, are you aware that you've been named as an alleged father in this suit with the mother, Kelly Miller?
Yes, I haven't been served, but yes.
And would you, if the department can arrange, are you willing to take a paternity test to establish paternity for the child?
Yes, sir.
And where do you currently reside?
Breckenridge, Colorado.
And do you know Miss Kelly Miller?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell us briefly what relationship or knowledge you have with Miss Kelly Miller?
I'm going to object to that
Sustained.
question.
Your Honor, I'm just trying to establish that they know each other and in what regard.
I think it
sustain the
called for
objection.
narrative.
I sustain the objection. I think that the department had requested a paternity test. I think in turn, Mr. Carver, on behalf of Mr. Duffield, was asking for a paternity test. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that is probably as far as we need to go about that.
Okay, pass this witness.
Okay. Mr. Brockstein, do you have any questions for Mr. Duffield?
No, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Carver, do you have any questions for him?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Wattis?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Nisenblatt, any further testimony?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Carver, do you have any testimony to present?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brockstein, do you have testimony to present?
I'd like to call Kelly Miller as a witness.
Okay, can you turn your video on?
I did not. This.
Mhm.
Does that do anything?
Should bring it now.
How's this?
Okay, and Ms. Miller, can you move a little closer to Mr. Brockstein so we could see you on the screen?
Let me scoot over, hold on. Okay, hello.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear the testimony you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Brockstein, you may proceed.
Okay, Ms. Miller, could we talk about your drug use? On how many occasions would you say that you had used methamphetamine in the past year, 2 years, whatever?
Let's see. Whenever I've told them that I actually called to, I drove myself to the hospital because of it.
What do you mean?
Well, so then I had used one time and it made me like immediate feel like I needed to check on the baby because, of course, he's my main concern. So I drove myself to the ER, went ahead and let them know what had happened and just to check everything, which everything ended up being fine. Of course, my anxiety level was a little bit high, but other than that, that's really the only time that I've ever even thought about putting.
You didn't on using drugs anymore.
No, and there is no proof of any continued use because there isn't any continued use, and I think that that's a very important part of this. And it's not been. I've offered and 10 times to do a drug test every day, and I haven't had anybody.
What do you mean?
Like, I told Kayla from the get-go that I'm willing and ready to do a drug test as much as she needed me to, whenever she needed me to, random, whatever kind. And
Aside from that one time,
she did a hair follicle test, which only tested the month previous, and that doesn't do anything for us moving forward. I've expected something of the sort in the last 6 weeks and haven't had any of. Nobody's that requested anything, nobody's asked for anything, and again offered. So, and as I am today.
how old's the baby now?
He's 6 weeks old.
Okay.
There's no history of methamphetamine use with me, first off, and second off, there is a lot of inconsistencies with her affidavit that I don't feel like her.
Ma'am, can you repeat your answer, please?
Excuse me?
Can you repeat your answer, please?
For which one? Or which question? Because I kind of went on there.
There's
What?
no.
No history. Yes, no, ma'am. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. The last part that I got was, and second off.
Oh, well, so then there's inconsistencies with the affidavit, and I feel like those need to be addressed at least. There's no proof of continued drug use whatsoever, and I admitted to the only drug use, and then the test dates and everything, those are dates I wasn't even in a hospital or in a doctor's office, so I don't see how those fit, and I'd like to be shown where those even come from. So.
Thank you.
And also, I want to talk about ask him how, when I get to see the kids right now. This is what they said was not accurate.
Okay.
He said only there was CMT. He's giving me full.
I'll have to recall her.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, can I recall Miss Green? Just
Who's speaking?
Mark Bruckstein.
Oh, I'm sorry. First, have you passed this witness?
I will pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Nisenblatt, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Miller, just to confirm, you mentioned that you used methamphetamine and then drove yourself to the hospital?
Yes, and that's what I've told Kayla. That would be what she was talking about whenever I admitted use.
Okay.
Because this is the same.
Would you? So you put yourself on. Okay. And you said that this caused your drug use caused you to have high anxiety?
No, not at all. I didn't say anything about my drug use. As what I said was that me being concerned about my child and his welfare is what, of course, led me to, just because I knew that I had done something, which all of us make mistakes, correct? So then me doing this and knowing better as an adult and as a person who does care about their children, I took what necessary steps and took myself to the hospital, admitted what I had done because I knew I had done something that I shouldn't have. I'm not denying that at all.
So the source of all that was your methamphetamine use. The source of all
me
that
being
was
concerned,
yeah. Okay.
which like I am today.
Okay. Pass this witness.
Mr. Carver, do you have any questions for this witness?
I have no questions for this witness.
Ms. Waters, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Miller,
Yes, ma'am.
did you take a hair strand test back in February of this year, 2021?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. And when was the last time you used methamphetamines?
I don't know the specific date, but it was sometime at the end of October whenever I went and took myself to the hospital. So.
All right. And prior to that, have you used methamphetamines or any other illegal drug?
Could you repeat that question, please?
Sure. Ms. Miller, prior to the October incident, had you used any other drug prior to October 2020?
And before my pregnancy, yes.
All right. And what drug was that?
That was methamphetamine as well. And that's going to be the only other test that there is that would ever come back positive. And that was before I found out I was pregnant.
All right. And do you remember the date of that last meth use prior to October?
I have no idea. That's been way too long ago. It was before I was found to be pregnant. Once I realized I was pregnant, there was never use again until that one time in October, which I thought I had taken care of the best way I could for the interest of Tyler, considering that I had made the mistake and done it to begin with. So.
All right. All right. So back to the October situation. When you went to the doctor, what is it? Why did you end up going to the hospital? Why did you feel like you needed to go to the hospital?
Out of pure concern for Tyler. I just wanted to make sure that what I'd done had not completely messed him up or done something that was going to be detrimental to him. It was strictly not because I needed to. It was because I knew that I'd done something that could potentially have harmed him, and I wanted to do what I needed to do to make sure that that's not the case. And they assured me that he was perfectly fine and everything was good, and that was that. So.
All right. When you say they assured you, who would that have been?
The doctors in the ER then at that point, and they told me, of course, it wasn't a smart decision, but that there was a good decision to come in and make sure that everything was fine, but everything was good. And they kept him on monitors and me monitored, everything was fine.
All
of
right.
course, that I knew better.
All
it
right.
was a lapse of.
Okay. And so Tyler, was he born with any symptoms? Does he have any symptoms right now?
No, not at all. Tyler's perfect.
All right. And so he hasn't been diagnosed with anything. Is that correct? Any medical issue?
Never. No, not at all.
All right. And since your October visit to the hospital, what steps did you take to address this drug situation?
Well, so then my kids are pretty much every step that I need, basically. Like I said, it was a lapse of judgment, a poor choice one time, but I haven't had any issue. But I definitely have been back with my parents, of course, which are my support group. And then that kind of course, I'm not out there now. But definitely help accountable. So, I mean, and I've just alleviated all of the bad, I guess it's not anybody's fault but my own for choices that I make. However, there are sometimes people that make choices harder for people, and I've made sure that those people are out of my life.
All right. Okay. And so you said there was one other incident. Let me ask you about the dates that are on the affidavit. It says here that you tested positive back on July 27th of last year, 2020. Is that, do you recall that date?
That's whenever I found out I was pregnant. So that's the beginning of my pregnancy. So yes, that was the only other date. And then the other dates that she has listed on there, I was not even around a hospital or a doctor's office. So there's no test done.
All right. So the other date included in here is October 16th of 2020. Did you visit a hospital or talk to a doctor at that time?
Hold on, I have my dates listed of all the tests that I had, and let me just check that so that I'm not lying to you. The 16th, I believe I was there, but I don't think that was one of the dates that have a positive. I think there's only 2 dates, actually, that were actually positive. Where did I write that? Hold on.
Okay.
But yeah, so then, let's see. 1016, I don't have, that's at my doctor's office, and every report that I have says negative, so.
All right. And then the 1021 visit, did you visit the doctor's hospital?
Either a hospital or a doctor's office. There's no lab work that I have on my records that show anything.
Okay. And 1028.
1028, I was there, and yes, that was the positive, and that's whenever like I said, that was the time that I drove myself to the actual hospital that has the hospital, and I do have record of that.
Okay. And so right now, do you believe that you have a problem with methamphetamine or any other drug?
No, and I fully, like I say, I'm willing and able and have been ready for any kind of drug testing, and I will. Yeah.
All right. Pass this witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Broxton, do you have any further questions for this witness?
Yes, sir. How's your other?
He's about.
Excuse me. Excuse me, I can't hear on your end. It's breaking up really bad.
Okay. Well, so then Brady is 5. He'll be 6 in April, and he doesn't understand exactly what's going on, which of course no 5-year-old would. However, he's extremely smart. What I initially did, and I do want to point out that I was told, and this contradicts what Ms. Green had said, but this is what I was told, and that what I have believed to be what was ordered or what we were supposed to be following. But I had permission to be with him from basically the time he woke up to the time he's gone and laid down for bed, essentially. As long as my mother was okay with that, and as long as or Patsy were there. So this is the rules that they had so that's what I understood to be what I was able to do. She said just a little bit ago there was only like 2 to 3 hours came from. But that being said, my son I've been telling him that I leave to go to work at night, which obviously I'm not because I've been on maternity leave. But he's even smart enough to realize that, well, Mom, what about those 2 days? Because I work nights. So typically that would be very normal for him for me not to be there. He notices those 2 nights that I'm not there, and he doesn't understand why. So, I mean, he's taking it. If anybody, I would think that he would be the one that, Tyler doesn't know any different right now. He's too young to understand her. But Brady, for sure, I feel like needs me with him.
Are you using this time to bond with Tyler?
Yes, most definitely. And I don't think it's fair for my mom to have to wake up every night with him for something that was in October that I did mess up. I get that. I'm not taking that away from any of it, but I do think that I've been moving forward, have been doing whatever I needed to do, and my kids are not ever in danger with me, ever. I don't know. Sorry, I've been upset.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Do you have any further testimony, Mr. Bruxing?
No, I don't believe so.
Ms. Waters, did I ask you if you had testimony to present?
No, Your Honor, but I do not have just a form, a statement with regards to being the item for the children, but I'll wait for you to let me know when to
Okay,
get
let
that.
me talk to CASA first. Who's going to report for CASA?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? Swear the testimony you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
You may proceed by narrative.
So, Your Honor, I had a conversation with grandmother, and then I went out to the home yesterday and I visited with the grandparents and the mom. I was there for over an hour, and we very transparent and pretty much putting everything out on the table as far as why we're here and what that looks like. I visited with the child. I observed mom caring for the baby. I observed grandma being of support. I asked several questions and just trying to figure out where some of the discrepancies were, but that's not my role. I just wanted to know how the kids were, how they're being taken care of, what the scenario looked like before CPS was involved. Tyler, as mom reported, began to get upset while I was there. Grandpa had to take him outside. I think he never should have really been present with some of the conversations. I have no concern of the home. Appears to be no concern with the way the grandmother is caring for both children. It was reported to me that mom's there several hours of the day, caring for the kids, preparing meals, getting baths, bonding with baby, and then mom leaves. Mom reported to me that she had been living with a friend, but that family has COVID. And so mom has been sleeping in her car, homeless, and then going back over in the day and helping grandmother with the children. CASA's initial report was going to be an FBSS case, Your Honor. That was going to be my report. That was going to be my concern from the information that I gathered while being there. I just feel like that this family could use the services in the home since it's not an emergency removal. And that was going to be my report to you. Baby seems to be thriving well. I got all the information as far as feedings and the latest doctor's appointments, and it's the same thing for Brady. He's going to start kindergarten next year. He's no longer in pre-K. The daycare that he was attending has closed down. I did as much follow-up as I can with that. But again, my recommendation was going to initially be an FBSS case.
Ms. Black, do you have any questions for CASA?
Ms. Elam, when you said initially, is it after hearing the testimony from the mother today about her meth use, putting her unborn child at risk in the car after using meth and driving on the highways, and then her prior methamphetamine use
Your Honor, there's
prior to the pregnancy, but as the caregiver for Tyler, is it still your recommendation for a limited FBSS case as opposed to a conservatorship case?
Your Honor, Mr. Nissenblatt, the reason being was the information that I got from mom is that she has been clean for 5 months. And we do like to see a track record. All of us would like to see a track record of sobriety. I am not the judge. I don't make that call. When I said initially, I meant from my conversation with mom yesterday. The same thing that mom testified today was the same thing that she reported to me yesterday.
Okay. And do you believe that in providing the limited FBSS is something is sufficient enough to address a drug such as methamphetamine?
What I'm gearing toward is whatever could be the least restrictive for the family and for the kids. By no means do I think it's okay
for mom to sleep in her car and be homeless. By no means do I think it's in the best interest of the children that mom isn't allowed to bond with her kids and her newborn. You can explain to me what you feel limited as far as FBSS is concerned, but I was looking at services that mom can receive while she's in the home.
And so her homelessness, it seems, so are you taking out any personal responsibility that this situation is because she elected to use methamphetamine?
No, not making light of her choice. I had a conversation with her, as I said, very transparent. Whatever services mom is going to receive, I feel like she's going to receive those same services, whether it's a TMC case or an FBSS case. My report is mom does need services. My report is mom needs to address the reason that we're involved. As far as the emergency is concerned, I feel like FBSS will guarantee that mom receives services as well as being able to be in the home and have support.
Okay. And do you understand that FBSS does not involve conservatorship, and that if this were to go that way, that mom could just pick up and leave at any point with those parental rights? And that would be a concern, would it not?
Your Honor,
Do you understand that, Ms. Elam?
Yes, I do understand that.
Okay.
Mr. Brockstein, what did you say?
Oh, other than Mr. Nissenblatt, it almost seems like he's trying to testify. He talked about
Right.
her
Okay,
driving
so the objection's
the car.
overruled. The objection's overruled. You can
Pass this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Carver, do you have any questions for Ms. Elam?
No questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Wattis?
No questions, Your Honor.
Brockstein, do you have any questions for Ms. Elam?
No, I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Your
Ms.
Honor,
Wattis? Yes, ma'am.
I was going to also ask, would court order services suffice in this type of situation as well?
Well, I'll make a ruling when we're all done. Ms. Wattis, your report?
Yes, Your Honor. I've actually, again, I've had very, very limited time given my notice in this case. So I have spoken with both the caseworker, Ms. Green, and I've spoken with placement, and that's really the extent of what I've done, Your Honor. I haven't had a chance to review any of the previous positives or where that came from. Again, I do trust Ms. Green that she's reviewed the case, that she's talked with the other caseworkers, but again, this case came from Travis initially, so I haven't had the opportunity to look into those positives. I have spoken with the grandmother, and she was very, very defensive, but she was very positive. So I do think that she is able to protect these kiddos. I do think that her interest is protecting these children. My understanding is that the grandfather is not living there due to some other circumstances. And so she's taken this on her own, and she doesn't complain about it. She does say, obviously, that Brady does start to wonder where mom is. And in talking to her, she didn't report any sort of trauma with regards to that, other than the fact that, of course, he doesn't get to see his mother at night. My understanding is mother is there throughout the day. She assists with baths. She assists with everything and caring for the babies. She leaves the home at night, and that's when Miss Miller, the maternal grandmother, is at home with the children all on her own. And come morning, there's mom back in the house doing all of the motherly duties. And so really,
Is grandmother in the home at the same time during the day?
yes, my understanding is that she is not employed, Your Honor. So she's there to take care of the babies. Now, she does say, obviously, Brady is 5, so he wants to do other things, not just be inside the home with the baby. And she can't, of course, be out on the farm and doing whatever Brady wants to do while also taking care of the baby. And so in that sense, she does report that that's how she feels Brady is being affected. Again, mom sort of leaves when the sun comes down and comes back right when the sun is back up. So in that sense, I don't necessarily see the sense in asking that mom just be away for the night. I do believe that mom does need some services. Again, by her own admission, there has been previous use. Again, she's not in agreement with all of the allegations. And with that said, Ms. Green has stated she's done her investigation, and that those are the dates. So I understand where the concern is, especially if the first or one of the admitted meth uses was back in July, and now we have still a positive in February. So my recommendation is that the children be allowed to have as much contact with the mother as possible, because it does seem like the grandmother is very, very protective. Again, she was very, very, very much adamant as to, just maybe me prying into the children's lives. And I understand, again, she was being protective. I think she can be protective while the mother is present. I don't necessarily, again, see the overnight limitations, but I do feel that the mother and the family does need services in that respect. So as far as my recommendation on placement is that this is a good placement. The family needs services, and that the children be allowed to see their mother as much as possible.
Okay, all right, Mr. Nisenblatt, closing.
Yes, Your Honor. The department's asking for TMC for these children, and what we've heard is that the mom admitted to meth use before her pregnancy, didn't stop even though she knew she was pregnant, and we can't forget that the mother was the mother to Brady at the time of her prior pregnancy drug use. So this is the problem with methamphetamine. It's in her life, and we need to work on getting it out of her life. Because if using meth when you have a child and you're pregnant with a child isn't the risk factor, then we need to kind of relook at this whole situation. As far as the department has made, I think we've heard that the safety plan in place is allowing for bonding and attachment. I really don't think that's an issue. And what hurts my heart for Brady is they're using him as a shield to these behaviors. That's a consequence of mom electing to do drugs, electing to do this methamphetamine. And so, yes, he's going to miss his mom. Yes, the poor grandmother now has to sacrifice part of her life to care for the grandchild. Not that she wouldn't otherwise as a grandmother, but it's a different role. And these are all the source of why the department's involved. We're concerned that mom's making these bad, dangerous decisions. We're concerned that she was the primary caregiver. This is methamphetamine. It's not a short-term fix. We all realize that. And I believe that TMC, the department, allowing the department to step in as the safety net to protect these children, to add support and aid to the placement so that they can, sometime in the future, be a safe and stable environment with their parents. And of course, I believe that's in their best interest. And as far as Mr. Duffield, it's for the children's best interest that we identify if he is or is not the father. And I believe we have an agreement on that paternity issue. And the department requests.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Nisenblatt. I thought it paused. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, that's why the department is requesting that this become a conservatorship case, the TMC, the department, rather than a short-term or a more limited FBSS or court of service case. Thank you.
Mr. Brockstein?
Yes, I think it would be an atrocity to cut the mother out of any aspect of the children's lives, because she's a good mother. She slipped up, I think, after this ordeal, and she's going to stop if she wants to. She's not going to use it if she doesn't want to, is a better way to put it. And she should be a chance to her and her sobriety and her children. She understands the error of the way. Not ways, the way. And so if she messes up, it'll be picked up in a drug test, and the CPS can get involved then. But until then, I think CPS is pretty busy. and these are, at least her first child is doing great. I've seen pictures of him. I've seen him. And he's doing absolutely fantastic. And none of that would be possible if the respondent wasn't a good mother. So I just hate to see these kids, kept from her. She lives for them. And that's all.
Mr. Carver, do you have any closing?
Yes, Your Honor. I mean, despite my issues with the affidavit, and that we are going to resolve this paternity issue, I just want to point out to the court that Mr. Duffield is not named as having any offense or committing any offense in regards to the safety and welfare of this child in that affidavit.
Okay, Ms. Wattis, do you have anything else?
No, Your Honor, I'll stand by my statement.
All right, let me state that it's completely understated that this was a one-time event. Ms. Green's statement in her affidavit was borne out by respondent's testimony that there was prior methamphetamine use and then use during pregnancy. There's now a new positive test, which seems to be the gist of why the department wants this to be a managing conservatorship case rather than a rather than court ordered, a family-based safety services, which was a parental placement to begin with. It begs the question of what seems to have been missed in respondent's testimony is the effect of methamphetamine use upon the older child. I've been on the bench almost 27 years. When I first started, there was very little known about methamphetamines. And over these years, one thing that has become pretty clear is that it is virtually impossible to parent and use methamphetamines. In this case, I believe that the right answer is that the department be named as temporary managing conservator, that a drug injunction be ordered, but that mom would be permitted at the discretion of the grandmother who is the placement to allow the mother to live in the home and have visitation with the children at the discretion of the grandmother, and that is within the same home of the grandmother, or if not inside the home, that is also within the immediate physical presence of the grandmother. So what that means is grandmother can be in another room, but if they leave the home, then grandmother has to be going with them. It doesn't have to be eyesight if it's in the home, but grandmother needs to be there. In the event that there is any additional positive test for any illegal substance, then mom, as well as violating the drug injunction, would also, mom would be immediately evicted from the home. Ms. Waters, anything else on behalf of your clients?
No, nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Mr. Nisenblatt, let me say that because there was a hair follicle test that just happened, if during the next 60 days for it to be a violation that would evict mom, it would need to be either either a blood or a urine test so that we would know the immediacy, and that this most recent test, if it's a hair follicle test now, then I'm concerned that there would be overlapping use. So if she's going to be removed from the home, I think it needs for the next 60 days, it would need to be a blood or a urine test so that we can know the immediacy of the use.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Okay, anything further?
Can I prove that it?
Nothing further, Your Honor, from the department. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
Ron.
This will complete the hearing. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify that the drug injunction and orders are related to mom and not the alleged father at this point.
There's no alleged use by your client, so I will approve that. And I do need to state on the record that the paternity test is ordered. Okay, thank you. This will conclude the hearing.